Got a question for you. What do Tesla, Airbnb, Netflix, TikTok, even Canva, what do all of these businesses have in common? And a matter of fact, they have in common with hundreds, if not thousands, of other corporations throughout the history of entrepreneurship and startups. One thing and one thing alone. They were all industry disruptors. See, an industry disruptor is somebody who turns an industry on its head. That could be one person. It could be a board of directors, masterful CEO. You can go into a company right now, work for another corporation, and become a disruptor. But an industry disruptor, those are the parties that change the game forever. And that's what we're going to cover today in this episode. We're not just going to talk about, of course, the legends like I just mentioned. We're going to focus on how you can be an industry disruptor. And you don't need $1 billion to do it, depending upon your industry, of course. But at the end of the day, that is what makes an industry disruptor truly impactful, is that they did it with the resources that they have, came into the game, whether it's an old industry or a new one, saw an opportunity or made an opportunity and made the most out of it. So today we're going to talk about how you can be an industry disruptor, learning from what has been done before and creating something totally new. Let's get it. Usually when people think of industry disruptor, they think of one or two businesses, right? They usually think of Amazon or they think of Tesla. That's usually how it goes, Amazon or Tesla, especially for the past 5 years. But industry disruptors are nothing new, and they've been happening all over the place. I mean, hell, technically at one time, Apple was kind of like an industry disruptor. There have been industry disruptors all over the place. Sony was technically an industry disruptor when it came into the gaming market. The fact is that you could be an industry disruptor at any size, any level, and it doesn't matter about that budget. You don't have to start out like Amazon to be the industry disruptor that Amazon became. In fact, that's usually the opposite. Usually the disruptor are the scrappy, putting a few dollars together to come up with some type of idea and execute, because it's all about execution. And that's what we're going to focus on, is that getting that mindset of what's the problem? What solution needs to be solved? Not so much, I need $1 billion to do this. No. What's the problem? What's the solution that a market needs? And getting the best you can out there. Now, we've talked about MVPs before. We've talked about business plans before. We've talked about how to build proposals. We've talked about how to make digital products. All those are elements that can be utilized specifically for this, because being that industry disruptor, that might not even be what's going to be your bread and butter. That could just be the MVP to get started, to get in the game, to be competitive, to shake things up. Just like Amazon. And I'm going to use that as a great reference in this case, because Amazon's ultimate goal was to be the ultimate superstore, but it started out as a bookstore. Like I said, that MVP, it might not be what you end up with. That might not be the thing that truly shakes up an industry. But Amazon was an industry disruptor for the book business. There were bookstores already selling books on websites. That was nothing new. It's how they did it, their logistics, their shipping, their return policy, everything else was different. And that was a part of their MVP. And then they turned that into the largest online business in the world. And frankly, only second to Walmart. And in many cases, bigger than Walmart, depending upon what country and what market you go into. So we'll start off with, what does it mean to be an industry disruptor? Right? Really get the definition down. That way you know how you can fit into this. Then some examples of disruptors beyond that of Amazon, right? Because there's a bunch of them out there. We'll go over a few basic case studies just so you guys get a good idea of how it fits into different industries. And then finally, how you can easily, and I do mean easily, because you know your business better than anybody, how you too can become an industry disruptor. Because the idea here is, it's not about being perfect. It's about being a solution for a problem, helping out that market and looking at something totally different. And that's the best thing you can do, is focus on creativity more than anything else. When we come back, let's get into it. What does it mean to be a disruptor? So what does it mean to be a disruptor? to truly shake up an industry and ignite innovation and transform the fabric of any market. Takes a lot. Tell you that right now. Takes a lot. All right, I'm BSing. You know it doesn't. It doesn't. The key is just to inject new value in an industry that's there. Literally taking what's already there, finding new use for it is a great way to be an industry disruptor. See, to disrupt something means you take away from what is already the constant, the standard operating procedures. Smartphones, perfect example. What changed the smartphone market? Smartphones were already there. But what changed the market is what the iPhone brought to the table. Because truly, at least in the Western market, the first smartphone, or one of the first smartphones, the most popular smartphones, was the Motorola Razr. Now, for y'all who's under the age of 40, I'm going to be real with you. You had a Razr that came out a couple of years back, and it was literally a throwback to what we once had when I was in my 20s. Yes, I'm showing my age. Okay, I'm an old man. It's all right. Deal with it. Get over it. I'm moving on. You should too. But iPhone was the one. iPhone is the one that truly changed the game. Literally a computer in your pocket, but it felt like a computer in your pocket because you had already had those things. A lot of the same elements were already there. It was about the packaging. It was about a new way of looking at it. It was the creativity, which created an entire new audience. You know what that new audience was? The people who expected the new presentation, the new delivery, the new packaging, the new product in a market that was already there. Now, timing is key because the market was there. And that is one of the key elements of marketing in general. It's all about timing. So when you look at your market right now, take this down, drop a note. Is my market ready? Do they have a problem that needs to be addressed, a solution, a new take on a problem that's been there, and no one is addressing it to where they have clear-cut solutions or the solutions people are settling for? Because we see this all the time in markets where people are just kind of settling for a solution. Take note. Is my market ready? Now, examples of industry disruptors. There's quite a few. And when we come back, we'll go over different examples of what it means to be an industry disruptor in completely different industries and examples you can take for your business. And remember, it's not about your budget. It's not about the size of the market. It's only about, do you see a problem? Do you see something that needs to be addressed? And you can provide those solutions. When we come back, we're going to go over examples of industry disruptors and which one you can use as an example that best fits you. All right, now, y'all. So here we go. Let's go over these examples of what it means to be an industry disruptor. And most importantly, the examples that they've presented and they've created that you could pull for yourself. And you can identify which one fits best for you. Now, keeping in mind that we're taking from them, but we're not taking from them. In other words, they did it. They've done it. If you go out and try to replicate exactly what they did, then you're not really disrupting the industry because they're there now, right? The key here is get that brain going. Okay. Hey, okay. They saw these opportunities in the industry and this is what they applied. I could do the same. Let's start off with Airbnb. Now, Airbnb was doing something that was already there. Airbnb was literally doing something that's already there. It's literally in their name. B&B. Bed and breakfast was already there. Beds and breakfasts have been around forever. Bed and breakfast has been around longer than freaking hotels, y'all. Okay, you can go all around the world. You can find bed and breakfasts that have been around way longer than any hotel chain. And that's something to take away immediately. Yes, it's already been done, but can I do it at a different level? There's two more businesses I'm going to bring up that have done the same thing. There's two more businesses that have done the exact same thing. Something that's been there for years. And they just flipped it on its head. Here's one thing that Airbnb did, though. Airbnb leveraged a platform that already had the traffic, and people were still, once again, using it for the surface that was already there. Craigslist. The first Airbnb listings were on Craigslist. I'm going to say it again. Airbnb listings on Craigslist. Now, if you know them Airbnb hustlers out there, and I know you know them, I know them too. They be like, man, hey, I'm going to do ads through Airbnb. I might list my own Airbnb locations on Craigslist too. That's actually how Airbnb got started. That's one of the key ways it got off the ground and got attention. What I pose to you is 2 questions. Number 1, what's already there in your market, that your target audience is focusing on and facing, but they're challenged. They're challenged for customer service. They're challenged in getting the proper, here's processes, proper return policies, questions answered, connection with vendors or connection with distributors. See, that's where Airbnb comes in. Airbnb is a very good middleman if you think about it. They don't own any of those properties. They just create a connection. They have done such a crazy job at it. You literally have, since pretty much their inception, you have an entire industry that is constantly trying to change laws to regulate them. Not necessarily always for the safety of the customer. Let's just be honest. Because we've heard about things that happen in hotels, hostels, motels, whole nine. Now, there's things that companies can put in place, and that goes back to what I'm bringing about Airbnb, and that's number 2. What is the opportunity that's there? Is the opportunity that there needs to be maybe more safety, better transportation, better credit card services? That's what Airbnb was doing. You talk to somebody on Craigslist, you find an apartment, you find a place to stay. There's no go-between. There's no middleman to make sure, hey, payment is getting processed. You take it offline, it's out of Craigslist or whomever platform's hands. Airbnb, no, you can take care of it there, and they will make sure to work as kind of that arbitrator, that in between, that middleman. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people have great experiences. Some people don't. Nothing is perfect, but there clearly is a benefit for Airbnb. And now they've given the opportunity for you to start your own business. And I'm going to come back to that with a couple of these platforms, because it goes back to a quote I've mentioned a few times, and I want to bring up again just because it really get those gears turning. But number 2, here's a second company. Uber. Uber redefined transportation and logistics. They want to be the ultimate logistics company. Can't blame them. There was clearly an opportunity there. But here's another throwback. Uber's only doing, and you know them as well as I do. Has anybody here? All right, I'm showing my age again, y'all. Showing my age again. Anybody here over the age of 35 went grocery shopping with their parents when they were kids? And let's say you were primarily in a city. Maybe you didn't have a car. Especially if you're in places like New York, New Jersey, maybe. Chicago. Maybe you have a car because you really didn't need one, depending upon your neighborhood, depending upon your area. But, we got 10 bags, 12 bags, 20 bags of groceries. We all knew at the front of any grocery store, there was a dude with a car. There's 5 dudes with a car. There's 10 guys with cars. Station wagons. Oh, yeah, I said it's station wagons. That's right. Boxes and crates set up in the back where you could drop them bags in. You pay that dude $5, $10. Instead of giving the cab. Anybody living in an urban city know what I'm talking about. And this happened all over the countries in the U.S. Can't say for other countries, but I know for a fact it happened all over the U.S. So what did Uber do? Uber just slapped a sticker on it? No. Now you can request that car. Now you can track that car. Now you have the license plate of that car. You know the driver, what they look like in their picture. Once again, nothing's perfect. Not saying anything's perfect. And I'm not going on perfection. If we focus on perfection, come on now. We wouldn't have to make businesses because everybody would be able to do everything for themselves. But with Uber. You can at least get the ride. You get the ride you need. And it created more what? More assurance of what was going to happen. I know the driver, I know the car, I know how long the ride is going to be. I can estimate, or I can definitely budget the ride. Maybe you want to tip a little bit more, maybe you want to tip a little bit less, but the full ride, you had a good idea what it's going to cost. With a cab, maybe not. And I'm going to jump right to what I was going to say about Airbnb, Uber. I'm going to talk about another platform in the same way, but I'm going to get this out of the way right now. It created a better opportunity for people to be contractors, freelancers, business owners. And this next example brings it all full circle. I brought them up before, had to talk about it. Amazon. Now, Amazon now is the dominant force in e-commerce. I wrote about this years ago when people actually were talking about it. Oh, Amazon killed, Kohl's or is going to kill Kohl's or Sears or, Montgomery Ward, all these major department stores. Amazon's destroying them. Like, no, what Amazon saw was the opportunity that no one else was picking up on. But they entered the field as what? As a bookstore. And that goes to a great example about Amazon and what you could pull. What is your best option or opportunity to enter an industry? Because maybe you haven't entered it just yet. Or maybe you're there and you're like, I'm not getting much growth here. Or it isn't much an opportunity for growth. Where's the growth opportunity? For Amazon, it was books. Because they saw two major problems. And when Amazon was really blowing up, I was in college. And I remember this. There was a major problem. You know what that problem was? And you know what that problem was? College textbooks were too damn high. So people would find them online. And the best place to do this was Amazon. Now, here's the funny thing about this. And here's the thing about being an industry disruptor you got to keep in mind. Amazon already had technically a few competitors in the exact same area. But this is why I talk about the opportunity. Where's that real opportunity? eBay had been there for a while. And eBay was known in everyone's brain as a bidding platform. And you know what got old real quick? Because I knew people who were doing this and they were saying it got old real quick. I'm tired of putting a bid on something and losing it. Or I'm tired of the bid just jacking up the price. I'm tired of that. That's why eBay had to institute the buy now button. eBay had so many problems with people complaining about, yeah, you know what? I'm bidding on this and it just keeps going up. The price keeps going up. So they had to counter that with that buy now option. Now, that actually helped a lot of the stores that were on eBay. But it had gotten old. And that goes to my point about creating a solution. Amazon saw the opening as a bookstore. But the real opportunity was picking up on what others weren't doing. While at the same time, in the background, how they're getting funding, they're focusing on becoming the ultimate resource for shopping. And the best way to do that is not create all the content yourself. Create stores. And this is where the department stores failed. I'm not going to lecture y'all. I'm just going to tell you a story. So I started an e-commerce brand or an e-commerce store. And we developed into a brand years ago. Quite a few years ago. We were around for a good 5 years. There was an opportunity at one time to, of course, open up an Amazon store. But when we first started, there was another option. Before it became a regular thing, one store, one major physical department store was offering that it would distribute and sell your products on their website. And no, it was not Walmart. It was Sears. You could actually upload your product onto Sears' website. And they even had a fulfillment option. Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? But sadly, this was way too late in decisions trying to be innovative at that store. With the distribution network, with the name and notoriety. Because I'll never forget it when we first signed up for this program. And somebody asked me, you can find your product online. I say, yeah, we have our own website and we're on the Sears website. And the person literally looked at me like I was crazy. They were like, your product is on the Sears website because the name recognition meant so much. Too bad it was far too late and they never properly promoted that entire offering. That could have probably saved Sears or at least kept them competitive longer than they actually wound up being. Now you can find this all over the place. Macy's, Walmart, almost every major online store, right? Or every major department store, big box store, discount store offers where they will either do the fulfillment or at the very least, you can list your products on their website. And this keeps them competitive with Amazon. But Amazon has made entire industries, technically, or sectors of an industry, because they focus on, we're not going to just produce the product. We're going to make sure that you have a place to sell the product. And now they do compete against you. I will not lie. I know that for a fact. We all know that. They do compete against the stores that are listing on their website as well. I'm not getting into an ethical debate on that one. I'm focusing on your best opportunity. So what's your best opportunity? Is there a way you can make other millionaires? And this goes back to what I said about Uber and Airbnb. Can you make millionaires? Can you make jobs for people? Can you make a sector of an industry? Because that could be where you ultimately end up. And that most likely will be your best, and I do mean this, your best and most profitable product line, depending upon the industry you go into, of course. And this goes to the quote I've mentioned and I used to make a lot. You can't have a billionaire without millionaires. There's not one billionaire that hasn't had at least one or two millionaires with them. Because to get to that point, you've got to be creating revenue streams for other people. That could be your money manager. That could be your financial advisor. That could be your CFO. That could be your district managers. Doesn't matter. I didn't say a specific position. I'm saying you can't get to that $1 billion level unless you're making some millionaires up under you. Means you're making jobs, you're making careers, you're making revenue streams for other people. You notice this? The businesses, the small businesses that succeed, what do they typically do? They have really good employee retention, which means they did what? They created jobs for people. They have good relationships with their vendors. They have good relationships with their outsource partners. What does that mean? That means they are creating revenue streams for other businesses that support their business partners. You can't get to that level of success without creating success for other people. And I mean directly. Whether you're hiring the person, you're contracting the person. Think about it. If you have a marketing agency, you have customers that keep coming back, clients that keep coming back. What does that mean? They're not going to come back to you if you're not making money for them. They're not going to come back to you if your website sucks and you're making the websites for them. They're not going to come back to you and you're making ads for them and the ads are not converting for them. You're making them money. So they're keeping business with you. So that's what Amazon, that's what Uber, that's what Airbnb did. And I'd argue this next platform did the same thing. Canva. Now, Canva, even more so, way more than Airbnb, in my humble opinion, took a industry that was dominated by pretty much one group, because bed and breakfasts have been around for years, right? Timeshares have been around for years, but hotels really dominated that hospitality, right? That was all pretty much hotels, but there were other options. Canva, when Canva came around, and I mean fairness to every other software developer, because there's a lot of other software out there. But when it came down to being a graphic designer, a logo designer, needing some branding, editing videos, and maybe videos there was some other options. But really when it came down to graphic design, it was always Adobe. Let's just be real. It was always Adobe. Corel had a platform. Sony had some stuff. There was some other out there, but everyone knows it was Adobe. And frankly, everyone was tired of that. Let's just be real. Because That also made it to where pricing was very, very, very strict. You really had no other options. You had to, you went with it or not. And Canva broke that up. Once again, here's the example. Finding that pain point for the market. Democratizing is really what they did. They democratized design. They made a user-friendly platform with a very low learning curve. I tell people all the time, if you've never gone to graphic design school, that's the best part about Canva. It's a great entryway into design. Now, we all know that there are movies, major motion pictures, edited, chopped up, marketed all through Adobe. And there's no question about it. That is still the top-notch elite platform. But Canva's not that far behind in many aspects. And then there's a few aspects that they're actually a lot ahead. Yes, I said it. If anybody wants to challenge that, let's go. Because they have taken leaps and bounds, and they're going to keep growing. And that's what you do. You start off with, what's that pain point for the market to where everyone comes over to me? One of the biggest ones was, wait a minute, Adobe's not cheap. It's not even affordable for a lot of people. That's why we have so many great new designers that have come around because of Canva. We have a lot of business owners who can finally get what they need to get done on their budget because of Canva. We have educators, which is a major marketplace for Canva, that can leverage that. Hey, if you're a history teacher, you're a teacher of philosophy, you're teaching special education, you might not have the time to become a freaking professional graphic designer. You want to focus on what your skill set is, but you also want to make something that is very captivating, engaging for your classroom. Why not use a tool like Canva? See, that's what it means to be an industry disruptor. You take what's already there, you find that opportunity. So Airbnb, Uber, Amazon, Canva, these are key examples of how you can take what's there, change it up, see that opportunity, identify those pain points, start where you are right now. So with that, start off with, what is a pain point? What is an area that is not being addressed in my industry that I can meet? That's that MVP. Where I am right now, what I can deliver. You're taking that Canva approach and adding a little bit more to it. In other words, I'm not just solving that problem, but I'm building a relationship where people come to trust me because I'm that solution and I'm giving a little bit more. Kind of like that. That's why I look at the Airbnb angle. How can I use technology that maybe wasn't available before, or options that weren't available before, and provide a better solution? That's really the Amazon and Uber angle. I'll give you one last example. Square. Now, Square doesn't get a lot of the credit it deserves. It doesn't. It doesn't get a lot of credit it deserves for the examples of how it not only disrupted an industry, but also the benefits it provides. Because what Square did is really simplified online financial services for small businesses. I'm not going to mention two other companies, but two other companies get a lot more credit for this publicly, or is more known. But Square, and Square is very successful, so you don't have to worry about it. Ain't nobody at Square right now crying, okay, about this. But they kind of more quietly did it. And the two main factors is their POS system, which is an incredibly easy to learn system compared to a lot of POS systems that are out there. And I say easy to learn because you got to think about it from the perspective of a business owner. You're a business owner right there, right now. You don't have time to be fighting with the thing that's supposed to be helping you make money, keep your money, distribute money, and manage your money. No. But they also have access to capital. And one last piece. One last piece that a lot of people forget. They forget it's Square, I should say. Cash App. Cash App is owned by Square, or now Block. So Square is one of the brands. Block owns all of them. But that right there, you can pay with your Cash App at a store that has a Square system. You can keep track of points that you total with your Square system. So if you have a loyalty program running through Square, you see what I mean? Connecting the dots. And focusing on one specific target market, these small businesses that need a good POS system that they can easily manage, that they can easily train. And it doesn't have to have a long-term contract. It doesn't have to have these these crazy fees that people get stuck with some of these POS systems that I've seen out here. I've got to commend them on this. They fully did it. And they did it to where they empowered businesses that weren't getting a lot of the attention. The food trucks, the small cafes, the freelancers who are out here. I never forget it. One of the few times that I've been to California, went to Venice Beach. Every artist that I met, I love buying my street art. Man, everybody had a Square device. Not one. I'm not going to say the other companies. No, I'm not trying to get into all that. But not one other company, all Square. And that's the point. If it empowers an entire market, boom, there's your opportunity. So, taking a page from Airbnb, Uber, Square, Canva, what can you do? What's the opportunity in your industry? What sector is not truly getting the attention it deserves? What are the problems that aren't being addressed? What's sitting right there, like literally on the table? Oh, you know what? No one talks about this. No one uses this, that you can find a new use for. I'm already giving you kind of how to become a disruptor, but I wanted to connect the dots with examples from industries that we know and the businesses that we know. So when we come back, what we're going to go through is how to truly become an industry disruptor. Go over some high points, note them down, and then after the episode, take it to the next level when we come back. All right, now, y'all. So how to become an industry disruptor. We've gone over some examples, some great examples, some of the biggest companies in the world. Check out the description of this episode. I have a few more examples, a few more companies. Guys ever heard of Spotify? Maybe you've heard of another company in there. Maybe you're wearing their glasses right now, kind of give me a little hint. But a couple of examples in the description of this episode. And remember, every episode we have a full transcript available at the website, www.ambitionshow.com. Check it out. You'll see a full transcript of this episode and links to those examples, as well as a little bit more information for you to use when you're building out your disrupting business, or you're applying to the business you already have now that you want to transition and make it more of a disruptor. So how do we approach this? This is the lens and this is the focus that you have to approach being a disruptor, right? Once again, be a solutions provider. So here's the approach. Identify and tackle a problem for your customers that everyone else, or at least the big dogs, are overlooking. Because a lot of people think, like I said, people think of some other companies before they think of Square in some cases, because they have a few other brands that are more notable or more commonly known. What are the problems that are being overlooked by those commonly known brands and not being marketed at all, or not marketed well enough by others? Enhance your product and or service by integrating with new tech. See, never turn off that innovation lens. What Uber was doing was right there at every grocery store. What Airbnb was doing was right there in every neighborhood. It's funny, when I first heard of Airbnb, I literally thought it was part of the B&B that I knew, the bed and breakfast that I knew. I knew an owner who had 3 buildings and they used them all as B&Bs, a bed and breakfast. Because I was so connected with their bed and breakfasts, I was like, oh, that must be something that they working on or something. No. It's a whole nother enterprise, whole nother state, whole nine. So what technology can you leverage? Like Airbnb, Craigslist. It was already there. They just found a new way to leverage it. They found a new way to leverage it and start off with that, but they didn't stop. Using tech-driven features, but they didn't stop. Developing an app, making it more accessible to everyone and easily accessible through the app instead of the website, which was not optimized for the mobile device. And in fact, it took forever for Craigslist to even have a mobile version or a dedicated official app. Next up, combine a product with a service to deliver greater value. Now, this is the one that could really set you over the top, because keyword, what I said, combined a product with a service. See, one aspect may be something physical, tangible, maybe even digital product, but the other one is fully a service. Amazon Prime ring a bell? You know what I'm saying? See, the book was getting to you faster, maybe even for a cheaper price, but now free delivery, now overnight service, now very easy return policy, easy to understand, easy to utilize, whole nine. Combining that product with a service. Offer a simplified version of whatever it is that you do at a competitive price. This really goes to that core MVP, because it's a version of the product and service at a price that you can afford. I'm going to give you an example in a second, but that you can afford to offer. And it's cost effective for you. Now, what we don't want to be like Amazon is in the red for the majority of our company. Okay? Because remember, Amazon only started turning a profit a few years back. Anyone ever notice how Jeff Bezos left the company after that happened? Just saying. Just saying. Take that as you will. Just saying. But you want to make sure that you're turning a profit so you can reinvest in the business. You don't have millions of dollars to lose every year. So make sure you can offer that at a competitive price that you can stomach, and that will actually, of course, get you some profit. Provide it faster, more efficient, cost effective than anyone else. This is the big one. That's why I saved it for last. This is the big one. Because if you can do that, if you could provide a faster service in the minute price world that we're in right now, actually I should say the 15-second world that we're in right now, that alone will separate you. But if you also do it at a cost-effective delivery for you and even the customer, can't beat that. Literally, it's almost impossible for anyone to beat that, especially a larger corporation. And this is why I'm talking about it doesn't matter about the size of your company. It's about, can you be lean and mean? Get in there, jab, move out. Get in there, jab, move out. You know, I'm always going to take a reference to something that I've done. Now, I'm not a boxer, but I got a white belt. Anyway, whole nother thing. Corny note. Moving on. To execute any of these things, focus on engaging on these specific approaches. You understand what the customers like and don't like, and why they don't like it, and why they do like it. You can't offer any of those 5 elements if you don't understand that customer, because you don't know what they really need. You don't know what solutions they need the most. Always look for better ways to do it. Constantly be innovating. I will respect that. Amazon, constantly innovating, constantly changing it up, constantly being competitive. Not just sitting on one thing, like saying, oh, we're good at this and we're done. No, not one and done. Keep it moving. Keep it going. New day, new opportunity. It's also what helped Google. I didn't bring up Google, but because Google didn't necessarily have it this route. And Google wasn't a complete industry disruptor, at least not in the exact same respect. I mean, they were an industry disruptor to another industry, but there was already some things in place there. So what can you do better? What were you doing before? Like that's you have the MVP, great. Make it the super MVP a week later, a month later, a year later, maybe. But constantly look for opportunities to innovate. This also goes to how you can be competitive with the technology aspect, because you'll be using new technology. Here's the best one. Here, and this is literally the best one. Collaborate. Co-create your business. I don't call anyone employees. I say your teammates. I don't want employees. I want teammates. I want team members. We go out there with a common goal. But also your customers. Because your customers are going to be giving you the feedback. Your customers are the ones that you want to have a relationship with. Your customers are the ones that are telling you, I don't like what's going on over here. I want what you have. Or I don't like what's going on over here, and I'm looking for something. Your customers. Co-create and collaborate with them. Message boards. Fact pages. Chats. The best companies I've seen today are the ones who are opening up chat. I love this. It happens all the time. I see companies out here left and right. Chat. They got a Discord. They got a Reddit. They have a Twitter, X, whatever you want to call that thing now. They have them. They have a open lines of communication with the audience. Now, how do you identify if an industry is ready to be disrupted? Number one, let's call this out. Let's get this out the way. They're never really ready. But the market conditions have to be right for you. And that's what we're really focusing on. But there's always an opportunity to disrupt an industry. But you have to be in a position. That's the first thing to keep in mind. You have to be in a position. What I mean by resources, can you take advantage of it? Because there's industries right now that are ready to be disrupted. But the level of resources, the amount of resources that it would take to truly do it, no one's in a position to do that. Because I didn't say that about being guaranteed. We don't get this business, baby. Ain't nothing guaranteed. All right. What we trying to do is get the job done as best we can, but nothing is guaranteed. So how do we identify? If we have the resources in place, how do we identify? Market complacency. Everyone's comfortable. All the big brands are in a good spot, or at least they feel they don't have to change things up. When you get them like that, and we all know we see this. We do see this with a lot of companies, that they're really comfortable with being on top or being in the spot they're in. They are prime and ready to be disrupted. Customer frustration, because usually number one leads to number two. Usually have frustrated customers when all of the companies are just comfortable being where they're at, because people change, generations change, things change. They have to be evolving. They can't be too complacent. Tension. Now, this is the big one. This is why I said you want that two-way, those lines of communication. You got to be two-way. You got to listen. You got to ask questions. You got to listen. You got to ask questions. The tension is building up. No one's listening to me. If you ever go to, and I'll tell you right now, the best place to hear somebody complain, Reddit. Like I said, the other one, maybe Twitter, X, whatever they want to call themselves today. But Reddit is another good place. And you will hear people talk and complain. But when you hear the same complaint, and I've seen a few companies, not industries, but a few companies got this, where they complain on a regular basis. People complaining on a regular basis for 2-3 years about the same problem. That means they're primed for a problem. They're primed. That at least that company is ready to be dethroned or removed or lose some market share. Consolidated power. Is there an opportunity to bring it all together? Is there an opportunity to maybe work with partners? Is there an opportunity to work with those customers and those employees? Because maybe you have something in place already. You just need to, what I said, you need to kind of transition. We're not a startup. Maybe we're a small business, but we see an opportunity there and it's building and we could take advantage of it. And then finally, I brought it up before, technology, but outdated technology. Now, if you have the resources, once again, and you're in that place, you know what you can do? You can come up with the technology, or you can leverage the technology that's out there that no one else is using. I'll tell you right now, there's an industry, and I mean an industry. They're using some really outdated stuff. And it's because of legacy relationships that they're using legacy software. And the people who are in my network We just like, hey, the right person just has to take it. Now, I know what someone's probably saying. Well, why don't you do it? Aaron, why don't you take that? Here's the thing about it, y'all. If you try to be everywhere for everybody and do everything, you end up with nothing. So just because I witness it, just because or at least I see it and I recognize it, doesn't necessarily mean it's for me to do. But for the right person, for the right business, they'll take advantage of it and they will have a probably $1 billion business. And that's a lot of companies, at least. Not entire industries. That's why this is very rare. But a lot of companies, at least, are doing this, where they sit on outdated technology. So with that, got to leave you with something to read, right? Or to review and to learn from. Today, it's going to be what to watch. Y Combinator on YouTube. Now, I had 2 books in mind, and one of the books I referenced last season, I literally referenced this book 3 times because it fit a lot of our topics. And 2 topics were so different, but it still fit that topic because it's all about what challenges you and what you can apply immediately. But in this case, I wanted to do something a little different because you should hear from some of these founders. You should hear from some of these, and also really important, some of the investors, right? Or the people who help work with investors. Y Combinator is friggin' awesome YouTube channel to check this out. I watch Y Combinator pretty much when they drop a new video. It's one of the, I'll be honest, it's one of the few YouTube channels where, I watch new videos as soon as they drop them. Usually I'm like, I'll watch it later on today. I'll watch it tomorrow because the insights there from people who are living this, people who've experienced it, people who've started one business, didn't work out, started a startup, didn't work out, maybe got investment, didn't work. And then the flip side of that, people who they started a small, it took up some time, but they built and they built and they built. And what they learned over that time, it's the same thing we want here at the Ambition Show. So it works out perfectly. I have learned so much and I know you can too. Y Combinator on YouTube, fantastic YouTube channel. Cannot suggest it enough. There's 2 more channels I'm going to suggest, but those will be in the comments and in the transcript of the episode. Check those 2 channels out. Very, very good concepts. Very good concepts that you can actually apply. It's not just conceptual. It's concept. It's applied. It's tried and true. It's what people have gone through and what they've learned from their situations as startup owners, as small business founders. The thing is that you can't apply exactly what they've done because that would just be, trying to reinvent the wheel. But you can see how it fits your situation. Like I said, everyone's resources are different, but you can see how it fits your situation. And let me tell you, you're going to learn a great deal just by watching a few episodes, let alone, what the entire catalog of what's up there right now. Y Combinator on YouTube is what to watch for this episode. And as always, I owe you something. Owe you something. So check the link in the description of this episode. It's going to be a free download for you. A great tool for you to use. I'm not going to tell you this time. Sometimes I tell you guys, they're like, oh, cool, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you this time. We only got one this time because we're working on the next few episodes. We've got a lot of digital products and downloads and tools to help you. So it's only going to be one in this episode, but the next few episodes are going to be kind of crazy. It's going to be awesome. Tell me what you think of the Y Combinator YouTube channel. I would love to know what episode really resonated with you. What episode stood out to you? Drop a comment wherever you catch this podcast, especially on YouTube, and let me know, because I would love for us to one day have a chat about that, because we're going to start going live. We're going to start doing live episodes, and it would be really cool to hear what people have to say about, some of the books we've suggested, some of the episodes we've suggested, as well as, of course, not only the products and how you guys have used some of those tools that we've been sharing with you, but I would love to know which episode stood out to you the most, or at least what episode, it's just, you say, hey, this actually fits my business, but there's other episodes that, more resonate with what I want to do. That's fine, because it could be episodes about an industry or business that you're already in, but you resonate with, or another episode resonates with you more. It can happen, easily happen. It's happened to me. So with that, what to watch is Y Combinator on YouTube, giving you 5 ways to identify if our market is ready. And then the 5 things you need to look through, the lenses you need to look through, if you will, to identify if the opportunity is truly there. Make sure you have the resources in place to start small, MVP, but to get it done, to execute. That's the key, is to execute. How to disrupt an industry. Any of us can do it. All of us can do it. We just have to find the opportunity, take that opportunity, or make that opportunity. But it's right there for you. And I'll tell you right now, the biggest and best companies, they weren't always the biggest companies. So don't ever think that because you don't have $1 billion right now, that it's not going to happen for you. It don't work that way. If you wait for all the cars and the clouds and all that stuff to line up, don't work that way. You'll be waiting forever. With that, thank you for joining thank you for joining me. I'll say thank you for joining the episode. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Good Lord. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Ambition Show podcast. I've been your host, Aaron Muhammad. Peace.